throw this question to Marco because he's the weapons specialist and strategist. But man, how did the Israeli or the Jewish people won that war at the time, despite the fact that they came from the Holocaust, and yeah, that was really tough for them. And now here comes a new challenge for them to face, which is to win a war against very established already Arab nations. But how did they win the war? That really surprised me.
Well, there are really lots of factors, Mr. H. But I think one of them is their determination. I'll go into details. Okay, so I cannot say that the Israeli have a regular army compared to their Arab counterparts who already have established armies. But for one is that one unit in particular, the Haganah, which later became the core foundation of the much later Israeli Defense Force, were actually trained by the British.
Haganah or Haganah? How do you say
Haganah.
it?
Haganah.
Haganah. Okay.
Yeah, they were trained by the British, and they saw action in World War II in the Battle of El Alamein and throughout the North African campaign. So basically, they are how should I say this? Professional soldiers. They have properly trained officers, so they're well led basically. And also, on part of the Jews is that after suffering from the Holocaust, they have this drive that if they allow the Arabs to beat them, it will be a second Holocaust for them. Because before the war escalated, there were already a lot of rhetorics amongst the Arab countries. Oh, the Jewish state should not exist and everything. So it gave them a strong motivation, a will to fight.
Right,
And
that's given. That's given because considering the situation that they had gone through. But what specific strategy they used?
well, for one, we have what we call the kibbutz system, wherein
Right.
basically it originated as a farming community, which
Mm.
the Jews have been using this system for generation, but they convert this kibbutz system into war footing. So basically, it's a self-contained Jewish community wherein they are self-sufficient not just in food but in weapons. For example, there's this one town, small town, wherein the school in that town they converted it into an arms factory. And since
Right.
they lack heavy weapons, they built this 120 millimeter Davidska mortar. In a
Mm.
military sense, it's not a very effective weapon. It's a very terrible weapon. But when you fire this Davidska mortar, when it explodes, it has a psychological impact. Wherein a very loud explosion that wherein some Arabs will think, oh, the Jews, they already have an atomic weapon. So
Mm.
so it has a very big psychological impact, and of course the Jews maximize it. And also there were also reports wherein some settlements in these Jewish communities they
Right.
manufacture British-made ammunition for their machine guns, and of course they use their extensive connections throughout Europe and the United States to procure weapons, particularly in Europe, wherein Jewish agents, and arms dealers, they buy European weapons, particularly from the Czech Republic, and use
Right.
it to supply the Israeli forces. So that's the general strategy of the Israeli forces or the Jewish forces at that time.
Mm, mm,
Now,
mm.
in comparison to the Arabs, yes, you might think oh, the Arabs would definitely win because they have armor, they have an air force, they have artillery. But
Right.
you have to consider again the structure of the Arab armies. For one, even though they have all these weaponry, modern at that time, their system is not based on competence. It's based on loyalty. They have a tribal system wherein, for example, the leader for a particular battalion or division of that army will be led by a person wherein the king would assign a general or a colonel that is loyal to him, not by competence, because he would see that as a threat. And also, the typical Arab soldier, infantryman, is, well, by Western standards, is not very well trained. He may know how to shoot a gun, but he lacks the initiative when confronted in a particular battle situation. For example, a platoon will be ordered to capture this particular position. So he would stick to that point wherein he would really defend that position. And if the situation requires wherein you have to withdraw or regroup, if there are no orders from your superior, those soldiers, they will just stay there and fight because they're not being ordered to. Sometimes if they will ask some clarification from their high command, wherein if they could withdraw to the rear or something, their commanders would have to pass it on to their higher commanders, and the decision making is very long. By that time, the initiative is lost, and that if you
No
compare that to
initiative
the
at all, man.
if you compare that to the Jews, they are trained by the British, so basically they are trained to to fight with initiative in mind. So you don't necessarily need to wait for your higher
The
commanders
command from
to order you. You're given the freedom, the initiative to seize that moment to turn the tide of battle. So I think that's for me, that's the biggest difference.
right, right.